Good evening, darlings. I had an anonymous request to talk about hashtag Piggate. Now, some of you may not be familiar with this. I have not been keeping up with world news recently. There's just been too much going on, so I had to look this up myself. At first, I thought it was something having to do with Dane or something, but of course it wasn't, darlings. It's sort of about these very elite clubs in the UK, which have a lot of rituals that are very how do I put this? It's sort of a sensitive topic. There's a lot of them that involve things such as sort of expressing your privilege in a way that's very negative as part of a sort of an initiation, right? So things sort of like burning money in front of homeless people, that sort of thing. That's just there's nothing but poison in that sort of activity. And then, of course, the reason it's called Piggate is because this one particular British politician it was accused of, and it seems like it's probably true, as part of the initiation was to use a dead pig for a sexual act. And so I think it's very disturbing in many ways, these sorts of things. And I am someone who's very privileged, but I do find this sort of thing sort of disgusting. I really do. I'd say this is almost up there with that Miley Cyrus video. It's like Miley, and then this is like right there. They're about the same level. So, maybe it's the other way around. It's hard to tell with these things, darlings, but treating other people in that manner as though they're disposable, and that's, of course, the point, is to show that you are so far above everyone else, and it's sort of a way of just to your own what am I trying to say? It's sort of a training, because this is happening when they're young men, then university, and it's sort of training them to see people who are less fortunate as commodities, or less. It's very dehumanizing to do these sorts of things, and I think it really does train you to see others in that way, particularly when there's no consequence as a result. And the fact that so much of the British government is sort of wrapped up in this, it's really disturbing, darling, it really is. And so I think what it shows us is a lot of the problems, and I don't think that this is limited to the UK. I really think it's much more widespread. It's just this happens to be what's coming to light. But a lot of these sort of elitist clubs do these sorts of things, for a bit of a laugh. But what it's teaching is something sort of counter to what you want for somebody who's in a place of power. Especially if you're supposed to be representing all your people, or even a large group of people, to think of any percentage of them as less than that, well, you're not really able to do a good job of that, in my opinion. If you're going to be that biased and not see them as a person, you're not going to be able to keep the interest in mind. So this whole thing is very disturbing to me, not the least of which the part involving the pig. Actually, I think that's less disturbing than sort of some of the other activities, and the way that they're just the lack of acknowledgement of the worth of another human being is it's very disturbing, darling. And so that's sort of, I suppose, a human thing. We elves, we do have our own sort of pranks that we pull on other races and such like that, as sort of a thing that many nobles do, but it's not to that sort of extreme. It's never been that malicious, and so I think that's really what bothers me so much, is there's no way that isn't malicious. There's no way that that's just having a little bit of fun. That's something much more serious, a much more deep-seated issue. So it's just, it really just turns my stomach um, to think that there's elected officials that have gone through this and that it's such a widespread thing. You know, we all knew there was some less than savory activities, but to actually hear exactly what they are is sometimes more disturbing than just your imagination, because often reality is much stranger than fiction, far, far stranger, and sometimes much sadder. So, the next video is going to be a happy one, darlings. I promise you that, because we've been getting a little serious lately. So, if you have any more questions about hashtag Piggate or anything related, I will answer them, of course. But let's try to have a little more fun. This is awfully depressing. Ta-ta, darlings.